If I disappear, no one will even notice, he whispered, just as he took a deep breath, preparing to step forward. Just because Tunde didn't do it, I means because he didn't disappear, sit back and watch how his life got transformed. In the heart of Olukosi, a town where wealth and poverty coexisted like oil and water, lived a boy named Tunde. He was born into a world that seemed determined to break him. His mother, Mama Tinu, was a widow who sold roasted corn by the roadside, but her earnings were barely enough to buy a decent meal. Their home was a single-room mud house with a leaking roof, and their only furniture was a thin mattress and an old wooden stool. Life had never been kind to Tunde, but as he grew older, he realized just how cruel the world could be. A life of rejection. At school, his classmates mocked him mercilessly. His uniforms were hand-me-downs, faded and torn at the edges. He often came to school barefoot because his only pair of sandals had long since given up. Tunde, the tattered boy, they would chant, laughing at him. Even the teachers, who were supposed to nurture dreams, barely paid attention to him. Some children are just born to suffer. One of them whispered to another one day, thinking Tunde wouldn't hear. But he did, and it burned deep into his heart. The market was no different. When Tunde tried to help traders carry goods for a few coins, they would wave him away. "Go away, dirty boy, you'll scare my customers." He learned to endure hunger, to ignore the twisting pain in his stomach when there was nothing to eat. Some nights, his mother would pretend she had eaten just to let him have the last scraps of food. But he knew. He always knew. Yet, the worst pain wasn't the hunger. It was the feeling of being invisible, like he was just a shadow in a world that had no place for him. The breaking point. One evening, after a long day of rejection, Tunde wandered into the wealthier part of town. The houses were grand, with gates taller than his entire home. Through the windows, he could see families eating lavish meals, laughter filling their brightly lit dining rooms. He clenched his fists. Why was life so unfair? Tears welled in his eyes as he made his way to the old bridge at the edge of town. The river beneath was dark, deep, and merciless. He stood at the edge, staring down. "If I disappear, no one will even notice," he whispered, just as he took a deep breath, preparing to step forward. A raspy voice broke through the silence.
"My son, what are you doing now?"
Startled, Tunde turned to see Baba Jide, the town's blind storyteller. The old man, though blind, seemed to see straight into his soul. He walked forward slowly, using his wooden staff to feel the ground ahead. "Nothing, Baba," Tunde mumbled, wiping his tears. Baba Jide sighed, as if he had heard that same lie 100 times before. He reached out and placed a hand on Tunde's shoulder. "I know the weight you carry, boy, but listen to me. Pain is not the end of your story. It is only the beginning." Tunde looked at him, confused. "Have you heard of the eagle?" Baba Jide continued. "Before an eagle becomes the king of the sky, it faces storms so fierce they could break its wings. But instead of hiding, it spreads its wings and lets the storm carry it higher. Tunde said nothing, but those words settled deep in his heart. That night, as he lay on his thin mattress, he thought about the eagle. What if his suffering was just a storm meant to lift him? The rise from nothing. The next morning, Tunde made a decision. He would fight for a better life. He started taking every odd job he could find. He shined shoes, carried heavy loads in the market, and even fetched water for rich households. Some people still mocked him, but he didn't care anymore. At night, he would sit under streetlights, using borrowed books to teach himself to read and write. When he couldn't afford paper, he practiced sums in the sand with a stick. One day, while working for a merchant named Alhaji Musa, Tunde overheard a conversation about business. The traders discussed profit, loss, and how to bargain with customers. He listened carefully, soaking in every word. Instead of just working, he started observing. He noticed which goods sold fast, which ones stayed too long on the shelves, and how traders convinced customers to buy more. The first opportunity. One day, Alhaji Musa's delivery boy fell sick, and the merchant needed someone to take a supply of tomatoes to a nearby village. Tunde saw his chance. "Sir, let me do it," he volunteered. The merchant hesitated, looking at the poor boy in front of him, but something in Tunde's eyes made him nod. "Don't mess this up, boy." Tunde ran like the wind, making the delivery on time. Buyers were so impressed that they gave him a small tip. Instead of spending it on food, Tunde saved it. Over the next few years, he grew in the business, running errands, delivering goods, and learning everything he could. Eventually, he started buying small quantities of fruits and selling them himself. It wasn't easy. There were days he made losses, days when the weight of rejection returned. But he remembered Baba Jige's words, "The storm will lift you." The turning point. One day, a wealthy woman named Madame Kemi, known for supplying fruits to hotels, noticed him. She saw how hard-working and honest he was. "Young man, do you want a bigger opportunity?" she asked. "Yes, ma," he said eagerly. She introduced him to bigger suppliers, helping him expand his trade. Slowly, his small fruit business grew into something bigger. Within a few years, Tunde was no longer the poor, tattered boy people ignored. He owned multiple shops, employed workers, and even started a foundation to help children from poor backgrounds. The final chapter. On the day he opened his largest store yet, the town gathered to celebrate him. The same people who once mocked him now clapped for him.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts with us. Tales and Stories by Eli value you and will make sure to deliver better contents.